Hello, hello, Team Elevate. This is my first time trying to record a video. I do live things, I don't do recordings, so hopefully this pans out the way I'm hoping it will. It's also Monday, and it happens to be a holiday, which just sprung up on me, meaning my children are home. So they're all upstairs napping, and I had to find the perfect time to come down here and share with all of you in the midst of BOGO Week. I bet everybody is just as excited as I am for BOGO Week. If you have not checked in on Becky's videos on how to strategize and make the most out of this week, do that now. Just cut me out and just go check out Becky because it is absolutely necessary. By the way, I am Ashley McDonald, and I am a gold leader on Nathan and Jenni's front line. I have been with doTERRA since March of last year, so I'm about to celebrate 1 year in doTERRA, which is crazy. It flew by and went slow all at the same time, which is life, right? So I was asked to come here today and speak to y'all about leadership, which truthfully, at first I was really stumped by. I kind of came at it with this idea of like, I've got to have all the pieces in place, and I've got to have a skill I can offer these people and how they can really come to the table with awesome leadership. And the truth is that I talked to Jenni this morning and I'm like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I think of anything awesome? And she had mentioned, well, are there things that you're reading? Which, I mean, advice number one, if you are a leader in any capacity, which ultimately means are you human, then you ought to be pouring into yourself in some way or another. And so, of course, I am reading things. And I had just finished this book. It's by Brene Brown. It's called Braving the Wilderness. And it's really funny because at first I did not recognize this as a leadership skill. Jenni had to kind of remind me that leadership, it does start with just you. I was thinking of it in a different concept altogether. This book, Braving the Wilderness, The Quest for True Belonging and the Courage to Stand Alone, totally rocked my world. For those of you who don't know, I'm a mental health therapist by trade, and Brene Brown is a therapist, and so I love her and I love how she writes. And this book was good. Oh my goodness, it was good. And what's really funny is that while reading it, I kept thinking of network marketing. I've been in network marketing now for 6 or 7 years. So I've been at doTERRA for 1, so I was with a different company previous to this. And man, has it changed over the years. And it takes some guts. Well, quite honestly, entrepreneurship in general takes some major guts. And so as I was reading it and reading about this concept of stepping into the wilderness, I kind of imagined the wilderness as being this place of entrepreneurship, of being a dreamer, right? And I can imagine that if you're here, if you're on this team, it is likely because you have had the capacity at some point in your life to dream a little bigger, to expect a little bit more, to desire something different, right? I can fit in those shoes. I don't think I could ever not be a part of this industry simply because I have walked the walk, talked the talk, and experienced the true blue residual income, vacations, the whole everything that network marketing can bring you. And I simply cannot imagine how people live their lives on just a regular day-to-day thing, right? And so sometimes that makes me feel like I'm walking in the wilderness, right? I don't know if you're like me, but I definitely have a great deal of friends and family and people in my life who are just totally cool with that 9-to-5 job. They just love it and it's awesome and they don't want anything more. And I'm so happy for them. Genuinely, I'm happy for them. And I feel like the odd man out, right? When I'm working more hours than they are, or taking, I mean, even just this weekend, my friends are like, let's go do this. We have this big thing to plan. And I was like, never mind, can't go. Last minute trip to California to teach oil classes. They don't get that. They don't get that at all, right? So sometimes it's kind of like braving the wilderness. So as I'm talking to Jenni about this, and I'm like, I don't know what to talk about with leadership. And she's asking, what are you reading? Or what are some of the things that have been on your heart? And I thought of it more as inspirational and just kind of for those dreamers. But the truth is, when it comes down to it, leadership, it starts with you. you can't even expect to lead this team unless A, like I kind of talked about, you're pouring into yourself, right? You're choosing to grow every single day. You've adopted that growth mindset and you live it with every ounce of your being. And 2, you have chosen to dive out, right? Pour in, dive out. What does that mean? Well, it means stepping into the wilderness, right? And the wilderness can be a little lonely sometimes, definitely a lot of scary, and sometimes a little overwhelming. So I wanted to pull this quote out of here. I think ultimately, in order to really be able to be in this industry, to be a true blue dreamer and to follow it all through, you have to be prepared. You have to be prepared for the unexpected, the hurt feelings, the late nights, the extremely amazing celebrations and rewards that you ever imagine. I mean, it goes both ways. It's not just negative. It's also really, really positive, right? So part of it is that preparation. But I loved in here, she asked this question: are you willing to show up and be seen when you can't control the outcome? Now, what does that mean for all of us? In my opinion, step one is leadership starts with you. Step 2 is you have to find other leaders, right? And what does that require? It requires you being able, willing, and ready to step out and do some things others aren't willing to do, right? And have conversations that might be a little anxious or overwhelming or exciting or nerve-wracking, and to do them without any regard for the outcome or for what other people think, right? That is the foundation of a dreamer. Jenni and Nathan did not get where they are by worrying about what other people thought about them, or by cautioning themselves or slowing down or not talking to every single person on their list, right? They did the stuff that, quite honestly, the majority of the world is simply unwilling to do, right? So step 1 starts with you. Pour into yourself, dive out of yourself, be bold, be courageous. And part of that kind of meshes together is finding the leaders. Now, what does it take to find leaders? Well, consistency. If you're sitting here in front of me, there is a big fat chance that you really want this. And maybe you've already accomplished a nice juicy bite of it, but you want more. Or maybe you haven't yet, but you want it so bad, you can just smell it, right? Well, I can tell you that the difference between where you are now and where you want to be tomorrow has everything to do with consistency, and a lot to do with doing the things you don't want to do, right? Having those phone calls, calling people, and sharing the opportunity that you believe can change your life. And that's what always makes me laugh, right? Because even with myself, I get ready and it's recruiting day, shake it all off, use all my oils, like, I got this. And then I'm like, what if they say no? Or what, they probably just don't want to. They already have this or they have that. And then I have to have my own pep talk with myself, where I remind myself, Ashley, you know what an awesome opportunity this is. You did not walk away from a very successful business to start all over for a not awesome opportunity. Like, that's not real life, right? You didn't decide to make some sort of investment, whether it was small or big, into this company, or make a decision, or have that conversation with your spouse. You didn't decide to do any of those things with a light heart. This was a big deal. And our courage is holding on to that big, big deal, like why it was such a big deal through and through, right? Being willing to step out into that wilderness and walk it, right? The good, the bad, the ugly, the everything between. Because why? You are a dreamer. You're a dreamer. That is a big deal. You are really what was it, like top 10% of people actually have the capacity to dream outside of what their life looks like on a day-to-day basis. I'm also reading a book called The Dream Giver that Jenni gifted me. And if you spent any time with her, you've probably heard her tell this story about the ordinary guy who watches the box every day with his friends. And it's just this mundane constant, every day is the same thing. And it's about him receiving a dream in the form of a feather. And this is just the beginning of the book, but it's so inspirational because the truth is the fact that you have a dream already sets you apart. You have been invited. The door has been unlocked. God has gifted you with a dream bigger than yourself. You have to take the step. You have to walk through the wilderness. You have to pick up the phone. You have to do it every day, not once a week, not every once in a while. You have to have that conversation. You have to host that class. You have to host that no-show class, right? I remember being told very early on in my network marketing history that you have to have 100 no-show classes or events in order to truly hit the top of the food chain in that company. And I believe that because I believe character is built with the hard stuff. And not a lot of people are willing to take a bite of the character stuff, right? It doesn't taste very good, but I assure you it is worth it, right? So leadership starts with you. And then the next thing is finding the leader. And ultimately in finding them throughout all of this, you have to lead by example. Here we are approaching BOGO week. Maybe you have leaders under you. Maybe you don't just yet, but you are already a leader no matter what the situation. And your job now is to lead by example. Have you created a strategy? Have you decided what this week is going to look like? Is your team looking on to somebody who's doing exactly what they're asking for? I don't know about you, but I'm not inspired by somebody who's not willing to do the things they want me to do in order to be successful, right? So you need to lead by example. The same goes with every other piece, not just BOGO, right? Not just BOGO week, but every other week. You have to do the things you would expect anybody who's joining you to do. So ask yourself, when you're looking for people, when you're recruiting, or maybe when you have people join, and you're hoping you'll just host 4 classes a week, and you'll just call and invite people to the business, and you'll just sample 5 people a week, and you'll just do these things. And if you do them, you'll be successful. Are you doing them? And if you're just doing the bare minimum, do you think you could do a little bit more? Because that's ultimately what you're hoping of the team that you lead. And quite honestly, we're going to attract those who are most like us, who want to be most like us, right? When they look on. When people look on to me, I hope that they will see vulnerability and authenticity, realism. I will never stand before you and be like, I'm so successful and it's so easy. I will most likely all the time being wearing sweatshirts and sweatpants and have dried food somewhere on my face for my children and doing this during nap time. And if you only knew that right now my computer screen is literally on top of my high chair tray with a little mini car holding the computer up. That is real life, right? I want to be real life, but I also want to show people the nitty-gritty, the stuff that I do every day, the trips that I take that might not fall perfectly in my schedule, the investments that I make, because what I want them to see and do is what they see and what I do, right? I want them to say, hey, I want to accomplish what you have, so I'm going to do what you're doing. So leading by example is really, really important. So I wanted to end with 2 things. There's this really cool quote in this book that I'm talking to you about specifically. But before I get into that, I had a conversation with Jenni, I think it was last week, and was talking about leadership, ironically, before we even had this conversation about the video. And I have this thing. Now, this is going to be really vulnerable to share with you all, but I tend to, or at least I've discovered recently, that I tend to mark my success based on the success of those that are around me, i.e., I kind of determine whether or not I believe that I'm successful based on if I can help the people on my team be more successful. And that's not always the case, right? And so I was sharing that with her, and not that piece, that revelation, but more so just like, I don't know what's wrong, and I must not be giving them the tools that they need, and I must be messing up. And Jenni asked me just this really great, heartfelt question of, Ashley, if you were to give them all of the tools and everything that they possibly could need, just in the perfect format and everything that they need to be successful, would that change their success? And when I really dug deep, the truth was, no. Their success, no matter what I bring them, falls with them. And that's what brings us full circle back to the part of like leadership starts with you. Because the truth is, It is easy and sometimes natural to think, I would be more successful if my leader did this, or I would be more successful if my company had this, or I would be more successful if blah, 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 right? No matter what you're embarking on or who you're partnering with, your success lies and falls with you, right? You've heard the quote, what is it, like success falls on leadership or something. I'm totally like butchering that. But because leadership is you, right? It starts with you. You are a leader of your own life, no matter what that looks like. So whether or not you're signing on a bazillion customers and leaders, you're still a leader. You're a leader today, tomorrow, and forevermore of your entire life. And the decisions you make today and tomorrow and forevermore that determine your life are on you, right? It's your decision. It is totally your life to choose, right? So I want to end with this relatively emotional quote at the end of this book that really just hits home for me. And I think it's the epitome of this industry. I think that when you choose to do this, now I think only a percentage of people actually choose and then do. I think a lot of people choose. I mean, you've seen it. Everybody's in network marketing. Everybody's doing something. But very, very, very small amounts of those people have chosen to actually create a business in network marketing and to do something big with it, right? So I love this. There will be times when standing alone feels too hard, too scary, and we'll doubt our ability to make our way through the uncertainty. Someone, somewhere will say, don't do it. You don't have what it takes to survive the wilderness. This is when you reach deep into your wild heart and you remind yourself, I am the wilderness. So today, I just wanted to inspire you to know that you have all of the control. And it doesn't matter the kind of networks you have or don't have. It doesn't matter the resources you have or don't have, or where you live, or how many kids you have, or what your circumstances are. You are the wilderness. You get to be the wilderness, and you're already above everybody else by being a dreamer. Feed that. Allow that already unique, beautiful quality of yourself that God has personally gifted you. Allow that to drive you into the wilderness to do the things that so many people aren't willing to do, and to make it big, no matter what big looks like to you, right? Big in your life, big in your dreams, big in your path. Remember that leadership starts with you, and leading by example, and being consistent, and really stepping out and sharing about the opportunity that you know was a valid opportunity. That's what it takes. It just takes being brave. So I hope that you'll brave the wilderness with me this week, especially during BOGO week. I hope you guys all have a monumental week. I hope you make loads of money, because that's awesome. And the more we make, the more we get to give. And that is wonderful. And I hope you just have an awesome Monday.